Musically meditated.
Musically meditated. Musically meditated.
All right. Welcome to Musically Meditated Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Riley. Everybody, please check out Musically Meditated on YouTube, Spotify, all the podcast listening platforms, iTunes, everything like that. I got a special guest with me tonight, and it's a Friday night, and we're feeling good about it. And he's my friend. I've known him ever since I was a child, and we're going to call this episode Heavy Metal Back in the Day with Jay. And like I said, I met him through my dad. He was a friend of my dad, still is. And this was back in the 80s. I was born in 83, and my parents were younger when they had me, and they would always throw these extravagant 80s parties, and I've seen the pictures. All you guys have tube socks on and short shorts.
Those little short shorts, yeah. Those are hilarious. You look back on those and go, holy crap.
Right.
You know?
You're in a few of the pictures. I'll have to ask my mom for them. But I'm with Jay Gavelek, man. And how you doing tonight, Jay?
Good, great, man. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
But I do remember those parties. I mean, I was super little, and they had that, like, an extra backyard that, I don't know if it was theirs or not, but they would play volleyball, and you guys were always jamming and listening to music.
Legendary volleyball games there. Legendary. I mean, it's some of the best volleyball ever, you know? Kegs, burgers on the grill.
Kegs and horseshoes.
Horseshoes, volleyball, all day. It was great times.
I think I did see a few of my first fist fight there, but...
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it got a little rowdy. You know, your dad's crew was a little older, and, you know, we were a little younger, and sometimes, you know, we had to get put in our places, you know, some of us, you know.
It happens.
Yeah, but it was all in fun, though.
Yeah, you guys, I think he was like 4 or 5 years older than you guys, and then the Jacksons lived like 4 houses down.
Yeah.
And then...
the Sandillas had
Sandillas were back there, and... You know, it was a good little mix of different age groups, but I do always remember music going on.
Always,
you guys were always jamming. You know, shout out to Kirk Jackson too. He was a big influence on me, especially with heavy metal, because that's what I want to get into. Like, my dad was always more, I would say, like early British heavy metal and Led Zeppelin, more classic rock.
Yeah.
But then I think with you guys, you know, 4 to 5 years younger, you kind of brought more of like the heavy metal and the thrash and the hair metal. I mean, because I do remember a lot of like Mötley Crüe and shit when I, you know, around that time. And I think that MTV was kind of a big influence on you guys, right?
MTV was a huge influence because it was really cool to sit down and watch a band. You know, you're like, we're at like a concert. You know, it was cool. It was the first time, you know, back in the day they had the Midnight Special, Don Kirshner's rock concert on Saturday nights, and you'd see like a band, you know, once in a while you'd see a band you liked, you know, but on MTV, it just brought so much to the masses, you know, and you'd hang around and watch, you know, videos and bands you like. And, you know, unfortunately they got the, you know, the hair label metal,
hair metal,
the hair metal label. But, a lot of those guys were great musicians, and, some of those bands are still around, you know, and, I remember the Mötley Crüe, they made a big impact when they first hit.
Yeah, they were huge.
Yeah, they came out smashing. And then Guns N' Roses, they came out, and I think they were the beginning of grunge because they didn't wear the spandex and shit. They were kind of plain Jane.
Yeah, plain Jane, a little rough around the edges, jean jackets and shit.
And so I can remember like how, you know, like there was some, you know, some cheesy hair metal bands, but there were some solid ones, you know.
Mötley Crüe was one of them, in my opinion. They were good.
Yeah.
Quiet Riot was cool back then.
Quiet Riot, and then, you know, with Rhodes going to Ozzy, and then you had Dio. Yeah. When Rat kicked ass.
Rat was cool.
Rat was real good, man. And back then, you'd buy a CD, or, well, a tape, actually, and every song was good. You could just put it in a tape player and just let it flip. You know, now a lot of times nowadays you'll get a CD, if you can even find one, and there's 1 or 2 hits, and the rest kind of junky.
Right. So they were making good albums.
Good albums, and it was good. Judas Priest, when they came out with "Screaming for Vengeance," Lord have mercy.
That's with the eagle on it, the Iron Eagle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember my dad liking Judas Priest a lot, Scorpions, Sabbath. Early Ozzy. When he was solo.
Yeah.
UFO was big too.
UFO was man.
But as far as the metal, more of the thrash metal, I know we've talked before. You weren't the biggest Metallica guy.
No.
But I don't know. What are some of your? I guess I'll go into this. What was maybe like the first metal album you bought that you remember that changed you, or a musical moment? Was there a particular band or a guitarist? Was it Sabbath? Like what? I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be metal, but
well, I got two answers to that question. Okay. I was in my buddy Robbie Steele's.
Okay.
And we were always taking his brother Steve's records and playing them. Getting yelled at when he caught us. But AC/DC Power Age, that album changed my life. And then I learned my first song was an AC/DC song instead of Smoke on the Water,
Okay, instead of, yeah.
And then 77, 78, we got that blizzard, like 30-something inches. And there was a record store uptown. I think it was called Dooglebee's.
I heard that through my old man, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody went there. So we shoveled snow and made money, and I went up and bought my first album, which was Black Sabbath, Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll.
Awesome.
And I just listened to that and played it, and then I picked up my guitar and tried to learn it, and that was the one. That was a changing one.
Sold My Soul for Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. It was Dooglebee's like kind of like a hangout back then too, or no?
Well, we were
head shop or something. Or?
We were too young. I was too young to know about that. I think it probably was, but it was a very small building. And I just remember buying my records there and just kind of going home and like hurrying home to listen to them.
Cool.
A little too young to know what was happening.
Yeah, around you.
But I'm sure it was what you're saying. Because, it's a record store.
It's a record
back
store.
in the day, in the 70s,
That's where cool shit happened.
Yeah.
But so Tonni Iommi's guitar definitely stuck out to you.
Yeah.
Like his tone, was it his tone? Was it Ozzy's voice? Like what was it about Sabbath?
It was his tone. I always listened to guitar and drums.
Okay.
And it was his tone, and it wasn't out of my box. You know what I mean? It was a little easy for me to pick up. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty simple stuff. And once you find out the formula and the patterns, and it sticks in your head easy, and his tone, that deep tone.
It was great.
Yeah.
And he lost like a piece of his finger.
He lost tips of 3 of them. Yeah.
Was it 3 of them?
He was, he wouldn't tell me when I met him.
Okay.
But he came out and did a little thing on VH1 Classics or something, a little story. He was going to be in a different band, and he was working at some metal shop. Okay. And he was going to go on tour like Friday night, and it was Friday at lunch. And he goes, I'm not going back to that job. And his mom said, you go back and finish. So he went back, and the shear that he wasn't used to working on cut the tips of his fingers off. So there went that. He's in the hospital, and I guess the owner of the company, like a big steel company, came down there and like said, look, I can't remember if Jackyl or something. He's a famous classical guitar player, and 2 of his fingers are you can't feel them, and he made it. And he said, look at this guy, he made it. So
cool.
And then Tony, that was cool. That guy.
Yeah, it kind of gave him like some hope.
Some hope.
Right.
Yeah. So he would mold like plastic caps on his fingers.
That's right.
And then they didn't make light strings back then in the late 60s.
Okay.
So he made his own strings, and then he drop tuned everything.
So he was one of the first to do that.
Yes.
With those with the thicker strings.
He would make his own strings.
No shit, I didn't know that.
Light gauge, extremely light gauge for his fingers.
Oh, they were light. They weren't thick gauge.
Yeah, light. Lighter the better, he said, yeah.
Okay, even for the lower tuning?
Everything, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he would just make his own.
Right, Tonni Iommi's awesome. Yeah, we'll get into that story in a little bit. And to digress back to that AC/DC album, what album was it again?
Power Age.
Was that with Bon Scott?
Bon. Yeah, okay. I think that came out just before Highway.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every song on there just amazing.
And like you said too, I think maybe the bar chords or the power chords caught your attention because
it was easy. You know,
Yeah.
for a beginner, it's very easy to pick it up.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it doesn't have to be technical to be good.
No, and it just got something that grabs me, you know.
Yeah, hell yeah. But being a bass player too, like learning, like you said, Sabbath, like checking out the tabs or whatever when I was younger, it's like, oh, this is easy. But then when you got the actual tabs for Geezer, 'cause
Geezer's
Geezer tears it up, dude.
Geezer, I mean, to me, he's one of the best. I mean, think about Supernaut.
Yeah.
That I mean,
Or NIB, the intro.
oh my God.
But I mean, he tears it up on bass. I was like, man, these are hard.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the guitar chords or whatever might be easy, not to take anything away from Tony.
No.
But Geezer tears it up on bass.
Geezer's a maniac. You know, he's more of a lead on bass than Tony is on
Very true. Yeah.
for the riff part of it.
Yeah, he is. He is. But let's get into your guitar playing, Jay. So obviously, Iommi had an influence on you, but that's what I remember my dad telling me when I was younger. He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Jay can play guitar. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, he was a good football player, but he could play guitar, dude. He's like, I'm telling you, he kicks ass. And then I remember, like, when I was a teenager, I think I came over a few times, or because I was friends with Davey, your nephew, and you had a Flying V, and it was the Randy Rhoads one, and you still had like a half stack. I'm like, let me see what you got, and you could tear it up, dude.
Yeah, actually, that was my nephew's Rhodes V.
Oh, okay.
I got the Gibson one. My sister gave me. She gave me that 81 Gibson.
Okay.
It's called the V, and I didn't like it at first because you have to, play it sitting up. But then I got used to it, and man, that thing, I could bend the neck on that thing, hit some harmonics and shit.
So was that your first guitar, the one that your sister got for you, or how'd that happen?
My first guitar I bought from a buddy for like $20. It was a Kingston, and didn't have an amp, so I plugged it into the headphone jack in my stereo and blew my speakers out in like 2 days. And then I had we were gonna get this little band together. We were like 14, 10, 12, whatever, and I found this piece of junk drum kit in an alley. It was called like a swing line, and I taped it all together and whittled some sticks. I was so bad that my dad came home and threw him out the door and literally took a hammer to him. And said, yeah, he
wasn't having it.
I sucked that bad. So like a year later, after I played my guitar and blew up, for like a year I was playing, and he goes, I noticed you're getting pretty good at that. And he goes, I feel kind of bad for smashing them drums. He goes, but they're a piece of junk anyway, and you weren't any good. I go, oh, yeah, I know. He goes, but you're picking up on this. So we went to a music store, and he bought me an amp.
Cool.
And a guitar. And it was just a copy guitar, but it was a PV Renown amp that, like, Skinner uses the PVs.
Yeah.
And I sold it to my buddy, and he still has it.
Does he?
I want to get it back one day, yeah.
PV, like, I don't want to say they get a bad rap, or people might think they're cheap, because they're not. I have a triple rectifier 4x12 cab, and they're all American made. I always thought that was cool about PV.
That's what I liked about them,
they're solid
too.
State, and they're good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what I liked about the Renown, it's got two 12 Scorpions in it. It's 120 watts. I mean, you can plug that in to anything, and they have like a distortion channel on that I never used. I did in the beginning, but it was too grindy. It didn't have the right sound.
Okay.
So, and I'm trying to match it up to what I'm like playing with records, and just going, it's too bright and punchy. It don't fit. So I went to the other channel, and I just overdrove everything, and I got that exact Skinner sound I wanted.
Oh, cool.
It sounded just like Skinner. Like on That Smell, I could hit that and get that exact feedback.
So you didn't have a pedal, like any kind of distortion pedal or anything back then?
Straight through overdrive it all.
Really?
Just overdrive it, max overdrive.
Really?
Yeah.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
I
actually just stumbled upon it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, after years of fumbling with those knobs, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I sound like an idiot saying that, but I'm a bass player, but I mean, that's probably how they did it back in the day too.
Well,
if they didn't have pedals, I mean, were the Boss heavy metal pedal and all that? That was around in the 80s, right?
Oh, yeah, there was all kinds of pedals, and but I just liked what I was getting
out of the actual amp.
Yeah, but then when when I was playing the 70s stuff, and then when the 80s stuff started coming out, you had the distortion and stuff. Then I got some pedals,
Okay.
I started buying that and adding that on, to get that heavier sound, and then I got the Rockman, the Tom Scholl's rack mount, and that just made it sound like
Awesome.
12 Marshalls, you know,
Right.
and all the delays and what have you. You know.
Did you have some bands too in the area, or?
I played with Dirty Tricks for a little bit back in the '90s when they were happening,
Okay.
and there was a couple other bands. I can't even remember the name of them.
Okay.
You know, didn't go nowhere. Teeter on Edge was a little original band. We did a couple jams.
Awesome.
That was good. It was all original. I like that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And we had some potential. It was pretty good, but you know, I was working a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I just play for my fun. You know,
Like a release or a hobby, because that.
yeah, it's therapy.
It
It's
is
like therapy. You know, you're fired up. You go and you pick it up and you kick it out. You know, or sometimes you sit down and you play mellow stuff. You know.
Yeah. I kind of got away from it this past year just because of doing all this podcasting. But it is my goal to get back to jamming and talking to my friend, and we're gonna try to finish something we started a few years ago, band wise. But it is a great release because I picked up my bass. Probably about like a week ago. I was like, all right, you know, like I missed this.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, you don't lose it. I mean, you might get rusty and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you might not have the strength, you know, for your hands, you know. How
Exactly,
it goes.
but it's still there.
But it's
Still in
still
your
there.
heart and your head. And the good thing about, you know, you have a history with them guys. You guys, it'll just fall right
It'll
back
click
in.
back in.
Yeah.
But any other guitarist, notable guitarist that influenced you, that made you want to pick up the guitar, or some of your favorite guitarists?
Oh man. The two favorite.
Yeah, who's
Two
some of your
favorites is Vaughn and Rhodes.
Okay.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Rhodes. They electrified me. They moved me like no other musician ever has.
Okay, let's move into that live wise. I know you got some awesome concert stories. Let's just jump right into Randy Rhoads, man. How many times did you get to see Randy?
I got to see Randy twice. I think the first show was April or May of '80, and then the second show was like August of the same year.
How did the backstory with Randy joining Ozzy? Do you know that? Like how that happened exactly? Like because I know Ozzy left Black Sabbath and he started his own solo
Yeah.
career. Like, do you know anything about?
Yeah,
Randy Rhoads?
I from what I've studied and read before the internet, you
Right.
know, I would read that stuff in
Hell
Guitar
yeah.
Player and shit. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Ozzy was ready to give up, and some guys like, you gotta check this guy out, and Ozzy's like, I have checked out thousands of them, and then like he said like late at night or whatever, they went to some little spot, and he goes, Ozzy goes, is that a girl, man? You know,
because he had the blonde hair. He was teeny
he's a
too.
teeny guy,
teeny
yeah,
dude.
teeny guy, you know, good looking
Yeah.
guy with the long hair. Ozzy's probably 10 sheets to the wind at that point.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Ozzy's sobriety wasn't a thing. He's
No, he's probably on the same buzz for a year, you know. and he said, you know, I guess the best term in rock and roll is they say he blew me away. And Ozzy said he blew me away. I couldn't believe it, you know. And then I also heard that the guy from Dokken, the guitar player, he was in line, but got overlooked. And,
because of Randy.
yeah. And then another before, so he picked up Randy and they went, and Randy actually almost left when they were in England and just pursued classical guitar. Randy was taking lessons while he was cutting the albums.
Damn.
Yeah. Ozzy'd go out and the band would go out and Randy would go to shops,
Okay.
from what I read,
That's
and go, hey, I want to take a lesson. And the guy is like, what the hell you want lessons from me for? What are you playing? You know? That's how dedicated he was.
So back to when you got to see Randy Rhoads for the first time. You said that was like May of '80. Where was it at? Where did you get to see it?
Aragon Ballroom.
It was at the Brawl Room in Chicago, huh?
We were 8th grade. We were like little kids.
How'd you get there?
My buddy's mom, in her station wagon, drove us up there. And it's so funny because she's like just one-handed at Richard Petty in the Chicago 500, you know. I never been to Chicago before with anybody else but my father going to a baseball game or something, you know. And she's smoking a cigarette, looking back and talking to, and just weaving. And we get there, and the thing they had going was the first 40 people got to go on the L, the Crazy Train with Ozzy. That was a promotional gig. So we all got our little brown sack lunches, you know, for real. And we get there, and we're right in the lobby, leaning against the door. We go, we can't believe it. It's 7:30 in the morning. His mom dropped us off for work.
Wow.
And we're like, we're here. We can't believe it, you know? Boom, the door opens. I went flying. Across the room. The guy goes, go in the alley and wait with the rest of them. We're like, okay. You know, they're like, are you all right? Yeah, give me my lunch. We go around the corner, and there's hundreds, if not thousands of people. Tents and shit.
Really?
Grills, fucking. I mean, they're like, we've been here for 2 weeks because they wanted to go on that promotional
The
train
crazy
ride.
train?
Yeah. So luckily, being that we were so young, we were standing there, and the people around us were cool. They kind of made sure nothing happened because it was rowdy back there.
Bad.
And we stood there for, from basically 8 in the morning till 6 when the doors opened.
Damn, really?
Yeah. And
Did
then,
you get to ride the crazy train?
No, we weren't the first 40 people,
Right.
obviously.
Right. They didn't let you cut or nothing? No?
No, hell
Damn.
no.
Okay.
Hell no. I saw a lot of wild stuff in that alley, man. Some crazy stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
What'd you see, Jay?
this guy.
What'd you see?
This guy is walking around.
Welcome to Chicago, 1980.
1980 Chicago, an 8th grader, an eye-opener. we're stuffed in this alley with thousands of people, you know, and you can imagine what's going on in 1980 in Chicago in an alley at a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy had a hat that said Trips 250,
Mhm.
so he was selling acid.
Okay.
And he comes, he's just walking around, you know, so he walks by us. And,
$2.50
yeah.
for a hit of acid.
And I imagine it was good back then because that was like the Grateful Dead was
Yeah,
still
like
around.
window pane or
Yeah, you know, the
clean
stuff you hear
stuff.
about.
The stuff you hear about,
The
yeah.
Timothy Leary shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
The stuff that really shatters your ego, so they say. But yeah.
Well, evidently, this guy must have been sampling his product because he goes up on the second level. The garage, there was a parking garage right there, and he was on the second level, man. And all of a sudden, we hear, ah! And we look over, and this guy is flying through the air. Boom! He bounces off the ground and gets right up like a rubber ball. And we're going, holy shit. And he grabs his hat, and it said Trips 250. They ripped him off.
And they threw him off the
And they
L?
threw him off. I mean, they threw him off a good 20 feet onto the
Damn.
ground, man. I'm thinking, okay, take his shit, but what the hell? And
Yeah.
we're scared. Now we're really scared. You know, we're you know, an hour later, we're still waiting. The guy comes back, his hat on, all scraped up and shit. Trips 250. That was the first 4 hours of the show. And it was crazy, man. So they finally opened the doors, and this was scary because I was, you know, the Who, you know, people getting trampled and shit. Our feet never hit the ground, and everybody that was camping, they left their fucking shit there. They left their tents, you know, grills and chairs.
Just left it.
And people were just pulling everybody up, making sure nobody got trampled. You know? And so in the mayhem, I lose my lunch, you know, my sack
You
lunch.
lost your sack of lunch.
And my Dallas never lets us down. The guy behind me picks up this brown paper bag lunch, and he goes, "Hey, who had the peanut butter and jelly on whole wheat?" And I'm just like going, because I like whole wheat bread, peanut butter and jelly. And it's just funny. The guy actually like knew what whole wheat was, you know.
And he called you on it too.
He called it.
Who's the wuss that has the whole wheat?
Yeah. So all my buddies are cracking up. That story's never, you know, that never gets old for them. So we get in, and we come to the conclusion that it's general admission on the floor. We're too little. We're gonna get shoved around. So we go, boom, first balcony. We're going, you know, balcony. We blasted up there, and I had the best seats in the world, man. We had a whole pod looking straight down. You know, it was the best thing for us, you know, and it was looking straight down. And I know I set a Guinness record here because I get migraines, right? And
Oh shit.
I got this fucking migraine, excuse my language,
It's all
this
good.
bad migraine, man. And Johnny Bruce had some aspirins. And not Metallica, but Lemmy, Motorhead is playing on, let me tell
Oh, so
you.
Motorhead was on this bill?
Motorhead opened, yeah.
Holy shit, really?
Dude, they
You forgot to mention that part.
yeah.
It's all good, but Motorhead opened, but
Motorhead scared me.
did they?
They were so loud and brash and just like I never heard that before. They were.
It was intimidating.
Oh, they were just right just
Right in your
ready,
face.
just get ready to kill you. I got rid of a headache doing a Motorhead show.
That's awesome.
How does that happen?
Not many men could say that. That's for sure.
No. So Motorhead does their thing, which was wow. I'm like, wow, and then so I'm like, I'm reading up on Rhodes and going, he's overdubbed this 7 times and this, and I'm like, I want to see him. This guy, this is the new guy, Eddie's Van Halen was doing his thing, but Rhodes had something different. I'm like, I want to see him pull this shit off live. If this is all on an album, 7 dubs, how is he going to do this? Because what you were hearing was amazing on the album at the time. He added shit. He came out and added shit.
Really?
He was so good. They opened right up with I Don't Know, and went right into Crazy Train's second song, and then they went into Paranoid. And he did all 3 of those on that Les Paul of his.
Did he really?
That's where I learned to bend my neck. He was hitting harmonics and bending his neck, and just and I was just stuck.
Wow.
It was like he could electrify you. It was like he could just touch you with what he was doing. And I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm visiting that, and I just not only to me at that time I had no idea how to play that. What he was doing, it was way above my comprehension.
Yeah,
and he was doing that and adding and filling and just going off. It was just I couldn't believe it.
Damn. So they did play old Sabbath stuff too. So Randy Rhoads would play Sabbath. Like you mentioned, Paranoid.
They did Paranoid was the 3rd song, and then I think I don't really remember. They did one more Sabbath song. I want to say maybe Children of the Grave or NIB.
Cool.
And then.
Did Randy put his own touch on that too? I mean, I know this was a long time ago, but did he put a little bit more finesse behind it than Tony did?
Yeah. He him and those fills. He does a lot of fills and like more barks and more flash. Okay.
Yeah.
But then they go, we're gonna do a song off our second album. We never knew about Diary of a Madman. They cut them both within like 2-3 months.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they went to England.
Because he was only on 2 albums, right? Randy Rhoads, the first 2.
I guess they cut the first one, and then they did a little small tour, and then they cut the second one. So they had 2 in the can. And then,
really?
So we're sitting there, and they're going, we're going to do a song called Believer off our new album. We're thinking, this is the new album. It ain't on there. So they did Believer, and I think they did Sato.
Okay.
And it was like, wow.
That sucks, too, like... For Randy to only be on 2 albums, like who knows what could have happened in the future. I mean, you could talk about that with a lot of different artists, but that's a short, small window.
Yeah,
So who knows?
I think 2 or 3 years he was, if that, And every guitar player, there's nobody that they all they couldn't believe the way he was. He was always asking questions. Trying to get better, learn more. He was just a phenom, He
was a phenom. How did he pass away again? Was it drinking?
No.
Or was it an accident?
No, they were in Florida, and they had like a 2-day layover, kind of, 2 days off. Ozzy was in the tour bus sleeping, and the bus driver or limo driver happened to have a pilot's license. They're at some mansion in there, and they were just flying, buzzing. And the guy came too close, clipped Ozzy's bus, and slammed into the house.
That's right. It was a plane accident. That sucks.
Just screwing around, yeah.
Just dicking around. I mean, that's awful. And it's just, like I said, 2 albums. Who knows what could have happened?
That guy would have been, just.
What was his rig like? Like his setup, do you remember that? I mean, are you a nerd like that? Because I nerd out like that when I go.
Totally, dude.
Okay,
I love the rig rundowns.
Let's do this. Let's do it. The rig rundown of Randy Rhoads, May 80.
Before I go do the rig rundown, let me explain to you the beginning of I Don't Know.
Okay.
You'll hear that hissing noise. That
yeah.
That's his sound. That's all his, his phasers, his crybabies, and Morleys and all that. And he believed that if you're going to hear this live. This is what it's going to sound like live. So why hide it? Why hush everything? So if you hear at the beginning of I Don't Know, it does that hissing noise. That's exactly what you're going to hear when the Marshalls are cranked up and all that hiss. So he believed in incorporating it.
Okay.
So, but he had, how he had the checkered guitars.
Yeah, the checkered.
And the polka dots. His black and white deal.
Yeah.
So he had them all switched around.
Cool.
He just had two stacks. It was like white, black, white.
Marshalls, right?
Marshalls. And then what I found out recently that I didn't know was he wired both channels together, which was, I guess, ahead of his time. So it made it like twice as loud. So he was blaring through that. And he, like I said, he came out with that Les Paul. And I didn't believe a Les Paul could stand up to what he did to it. You know,
Really?
the first 3 songs. And like I said, he was bending the neck. You know, just
And Les Pauls are heavy guitars
yeah.
too.
I love the heavy guitars
Me too. And for him to be such a tiny dude, you know, like
the guitars look bigger than him. You know,
I know he was so small. He
Yeah.
said that, yeah, but to bend it, like you said, and just
I couldn't believe it. So I started doing it to mine, and people like, you can't do that. I go, I've been doing it since 1981. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And
sorry, bro.
yeah,
I could do it. Shut up.
So then he had his Charvels there, his Jackson Charvels. He had the white one and the.
Oh, he played Jackson too?
Well, I don't know.
Or is it Charvel? Were they like a sister company or something?
Yeah, it was a Jackson Charvel collaboration, but Jackson was on his guitars.
On like the headstock, it said Jackson.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he had the.
I didn't know that.
He had the
about
2
Randy.
King V's, and actually, he only had the one at the first show, but he had the other V, which was a regular Gibson, but he had it cut up a little different and polka dotted, and he liked that one a lot. So it was the Paul, the black V with the polka dots, and then he had the Jackson,
Okay.
the white shark.
I
fin.
remember the polka dot one the most.
I think that got used almost the most. The Paul and that really,
Yeah.
and then when Charvel got. I guess he went to Charvel or Jackson and said, I want an indestructible guitar. And that's how they got their start, was through Rhodes, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they were already established and started.
But he was the one that put him on the map.
Exactly.
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
like an endorsement or a sponsor, like, hey,
Sure.
make me a guitar.
He gets a guitar, he goes out, he explodes, and then there's Jackson on the name.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Awesome. So you did get to see him twice, is what you're saying, right? I mean,
Yeah, so the next time we go,
yeah. What's the story for the next time?
the next time it's my sister, my middle sister, and her friend, and like 4 of my buddies, and we're crammed in this little car going to Alpine. And we had seats, you know, kind of far in the back. You know, we didn't have the best seats in the house, and they had the stage show was way different. They had it looked like hell. And,
Cool.
And Ozzy was in like a red sequin devil suit, and they had these little like monks, like midget monks, throwing blood out in the crowd, like buckets of blood and
Cool.
chunks of meat, and it was crazy.
Just crazy theatrics.
And they opened up with Over the Mountain.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the rest I don't remember as much. You know, the first show I remember a lot, but
The second
Still.
one.
second one I don't know why. I don't know. We're just a little bit too much mayhem.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But it was each time though. I didn't even look at Ozzy. I
You're just
stuck
looking at
on
Randy
Rhodes,
Rhoads.
man. I was stuck, except for the drummer, not Lee Kerslake, but Tommy Aldridge. That first show, when he done his solo, he threw his sticks in the crowd and he beat his hands raw
Damn.
on the drums. He did a solo with his bare hands. It was just amazing, you know.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember any of the other dudes in Ozzy's solo stuff besides Randy Rhoads, and then obviously Zach Wilde.
Yeah, Zach came on. He done his own thing.
And Zach's good. He's
Oh,
quality
Zach's
guitars.
phenomenal, man.
Yeah, he's great.
Phenomenal.
He's great. Did he come in right after Randy?
No,
I didn't
no.
think so.
Jake Lee came in,
Okay.
and then Bark at the Moon, and then so
Right.
on. You had Brad Gillis coming in,
Okay.
and I can't think of the guy's name from Doc, and my buddy's gonna kill me because I know I can see his face.
Yeah, it's all good.
But he missed out twice on being Ozzy's guitarist.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. All right, let's move on to another guitarist, and I know because we've talked about this. You got to see him live, and he's had a huge influence on you, and that's Mr. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh my lord, man. That guy is kind of like Rhodes. I call him shooting stars, like Hendrix, Rhodes, Vaughan. I think they were just here to do that. That was it. That was what they were supposed to do, and they're gone. Change it. Just be there, and you know.
You did get to see him live, though.
At the Star, I was at my friend's house on a Friday night, and a guy came in. He goes, "Hey man, I got tickets for my son wants to see this guy Stevie Ray Vaughan." second row Celebrity Circle, but he wants to go see this other band now. So you guys, who wants him? I'm like, stay here. I went home. I had the money like a Stein. I kept my money in like $22. And I had second row from media away.
And this was at the Star?
At the Star.
Damn, what year was it? Late 80s?
86. No, 87, 87, 88.
Okay.
And second row. And then that day I went, and at across the street, the music store, I met Jimmy Vaughn with the Fabulous Thunderbirds, warmed him up on that show.
Really?
And I talked to Jimmy. He looked tired. He looked like he didn't want to talk to nobody. And then that night, I got just blown away. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Couldn't believe, like I was saying, that electrifying feeling.
Yeah.
He just emitted it to you. Not that you could just feel it, man. It was like he was just there to electrify you and get into your soul.
Yeah, he played with soul. He played with passion.
Yeah.
That good rock and roll blues sound. Another thing too about SRV, I mean, as far as we could nerd out on the rig and his guitar, but he was always known for playing with really, really thick. We were saying Tonni Iommi earlier played with thin.
He played 13s on the bottom, and
Did
he
he?
would bend that 13 up to that E. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's
a heavy string, man.
That is a heavy string.
I mean, that's almost bass strings, man.
It is. It's basically a bass string, and he had his demons, just like all of us to a certain extent, or a lot of rock stars. But I heard this. I don't know if you've ever read this before, but he had a cocaine problem.
Yeah.
And with those thick strings, he would actually dip his fingertips in the cocaine because it's numbing.
Well, okay.
Because he had such like burns, like the guitar strings will eventually burn through your fingertips, but they said that's what Stevie would do.
Wow, I never heard that.
Yeah, he would
Wow.
just dip his fingers. Now, I don't know
That makes sense, though.
how true that is or if it's just, a wise
It's
tale.
a numbing agent, but that would make sense if you're on tour and your fingertips are coming off.
Because there was some stuff like you go watch on YouTube, you could tell he was in his zone, so to speak. There's some stories there.
I'm not positive about my timeline, but I think I saw him when he was on drugs and alcohol. And I
Okay.
think the next time I saw him, he was sober.
He was sober. Was
Yeah.
he better?
Each time was amazing.
Okay.
I couldn't. It was
Where did you see him the second time at the Star?
Star,
Okay.
fifth row.
Awesome.
So I think both times. The first time he was buzzed up. Second time I think he was sober, and I couldn't tell a difference.
Okay.
And that SRV guitar, talking about
Guitars. Yeah, that was a Fender, correct?
Yeah,
Fender Strat.
Fender Strat, and he played 12 songs on that. One time he went clink, and like he knew what string was going out, just tuned it, clink real quick, and went back to it. And then number 12, he did Jimi Hendrix, Third Stone from the Sun.
Really?
And he was standing on that guitar, on the ears of it, like the Fender ears, and pulling the neck in front of the amps, going, meow, meow, and just letting it get this wild feedback. It's crazy feedback. And I'm like, he just wrecked the guitar. That guitar, he ruined it. I mean, it's done. Strings are flying all over.
Yeah.
Guy took it off stage. He comes out with his cherry red Strat, cigarette in his mouth, sat down on it, and played this beautiful song. And then after that, boom, out came the SRV guitar.
They fixed it up.
Ready to go.
That guitar tech.
That guitar tech
Doing
was the
his
shit,
job.
man. I was like, that guy's the shit, man. I thought that thing was in a scrap heap,
Right. Yeah, he has a very iconic looking Strat. It's wood grain, right? With the white pick or black pick?
Yeah, I guess he took the paint off of it because he
Okay.
liked the wood grain look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his. And I think he had a matching one. Like he had the SRV on it,
Mhm.
like his initials, but didn't he have two of them or was it just the one? I could be wrong.
Well, he had I think he had a number, and that was his number one. He had I saw him play that cherry red one that after he destroyed the SRV one. Seen him play a white one several times on TV.
Okay.
And then he's got that Washburn, that custom, like it looks like a 335 kind of thing.
Okay. How
But-
about his rig setup? What was his rig like? Do you remember that?
I on TV I seen him playing through all kinds of stuff, but when I saw him at the Star, he was just playing straight through Fenders.
All Fender?
Yep.
Awesome.
The two speakers, he just had like four of those, like
Like four by 12s or
four
something?
combos, yeah.
4 combos.
Four combos, like 4x12s.
Cool.
Two 4x12 or two. Two in each.
Did he die in a plane accident too?
Alpine Valley.
That's right.
Helicopter crash. Yeah.
That's some crazy shit. What's the background on that story?
Oh, the background was they were doing that show, him and Clapton and all those guys. And Clapton wasn't in a hurry, and Stevie was in a hurry to get back to Chicago for something, a meeting, who knows? I don't really remember why. And I was going to go to that show, but I had to work, so I couldn't go. And so Clapton goes, take my seat. I'm in no hurry. Go ahead and, get your what you got to get done. And when the helicopter took off, he died with Clapton's entourage, like his manager and shit like that. That was supposed to be Eric Clapton's seat.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and hit the Alpine Valley ski hill.
Is that what they hit?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Just what are the odds, man?
What are the odds? Because he had, he had that stuff with his brother before he became a solo artist, right? Or did he bring his brother with him? Like, how many albums was Stevie on? Because do you remember his discography that well?
I don't.
Okay, I don't remember either.
I don't. I know that Jimmy was doing his thing, and then everybody kept going, "Wow, who's that?"
Yeah, who's that dude?
And it was Stevie, and then everybody started going, "Wow, he kind of surpassed Jimmy."
Yeah, yeah, he did.
But he always included Jimmy, though. He didn't forget his roots
brother,
and his brother, and didn't forget how he got started, and he just took it to a next level.
Yeah, he did, man. He was a great guitarist. So tragic, especially with Randy Rhoads, going back to him, like just a tragic way to go. And short careers, really short.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Like, I remember you telling me this when I was younger. Like, yeah, I got to see both of these guys twice. I was just always blown away.
And I'm so happy I did, because there's so many bands that I can't see now that are gone or done. And those two were just, to me, they hit me the hardest. They just delivered to my soul. Out of any Eddie Van Halen, Richie Blackmore, you just name them. Except for obviously, Hendrix, and I didn't get to see those. But everybody, Yngwie, all of them, Satriani, I mean, they're all great, but none of them gave me that emotional feeling that I got from them two guys.
Yeah, when you see them live.
It was just like, I was just stuck, electrified.
Yeah, nothing mattered, time stopped, all of that. All your problems went away, and they glued you.
I just couldn't, they sucked you in. I couldn't believe what I was watching, I mean, I'm watching Stevie just... You could hear him growl before he hit a note. He'd just go, he'd come down and hit that thing with such passion and power, and he was just amazing. Sweating. He was just sweating.
He was always sweating.
Sweating his ass off, man. And I usually sweat a lot too, so I can feel for him. But that's how much he was working up there,
Yeah, for sure. But Stevie Ray, moving on to another story that you kind of mentioned with me before, and this was probably 80s, but Jackyl. Didn't you party with Jackyl or something? What's your story about Jackyl?
This is a while when I was drunk off my balls. It was Jackyl warming up Damn Yankees 92, I believe.
Oh, it was 90s, okay.
At the Star. And we always got a deal on a second row. We had an end for Celebrity Circle second row. So we go.
You knew some people.
Yeah. And so we go, and we're there, and then Jackyl done their thing, and I'm like, wow, I liked them right off the bat.
Jackyl me off, remember that song?
Rock me, come on, here, get some chicken, baby, come on now, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so actually that's what I was going to do. Damn Yankees did their thing, and then they had the microphone. The cord was hanging over my arms are on the stage the whole time. Back then, they let you crowd stage. And so I'm going to pull this mic to me. And I'm going to go, him. Because quite frankly, I thought Jackyl blew the Damn Yankees away.
Okay. Okay.
And next thing I know, I'm getting picked up and carried out and literally thrown out. They didn't say, sir, please leave. They picked me up and threw me right through the damn doors into the parking lot.
And you're not a small man,
No, and they moved me like I was a midget. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I saw what I came to see. So I walked by this tour bus, and I was very, very drunk, and I just opened the door and walked up, and I go, who are you guys? We're Jackyl, man. Have a seat. I'm like, I can't believe this, man. This ain't happening. And then there's Jimmy Stipp, the guitarist. He's drawing. Jesse Dupree's in the back playing guitar, going nuts. And I just hung out, bullshitted with him, guitars, amps, this and that.
Cool.
And then I got to play guitar with them on the bus. Jesse Dupree comes up and goes, man, you're wailing on that thing. You need to get yourself a band, boy. Mm-hmm. Just hung out drinking with them. And then they're like, Big J, don't let nobody on the bus. We're going to go out and sign autographs. So there I am now, like.
Now you're security.
Now I'm like security. I can't believe that this happened. And then people are all looking at me, waving, going, dude, let me on the bus. I go, they're right there. I'm like, going, they're right there, you know. So nobody believed me. You know, I get back in Hobart, 1, 2, whatever. And they're like, no, you didn't do it. This didn't happen. I'm like, okay, I'm just making this up. Come on, man. And they go, last time we knew, you got thrown out. So I can see how,
your story might not add up.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'm just going to make this up. How do you make this up?
Right.
So then the next year they came around. I talked to my guy at second row. And I said, we're going to the bus. And they're like, nah, man. I go, we're going to the bus, dude. So we're in the bus, and I knocked on the door, and Chris Worley comes out, the other guitarist. I go, hey, Chris, what's up? I go, you don't remember me. You weren't around. You were in the backstage. I go, is Jimmy in there? He goes, yeah. I go, Jimmy. He comes out, and this is what I wanted, and I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it to this day. He goes, Big J. He goes, you ain't all drunk. And I'm like, he remembered my name. My buddies just like shriveled.
Yeah, you weren't lying after all.
Yeah. And he goes, Big J, wait till you see my new guitars. He goes, I got these Les Pauls, man. He goes, I got them all shaved down, active EMGs and all this. And we're just like picking up where we left off.
Cool.
And I was like, my buddies are just like, we'll meet you. And I go, yeah, I'd see you, man.
I remember one of the first cassette tapes that I got when I was a kid was a Jackyl one, and that was the one with they were all dogs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was
one.
the album.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I really liked Jackyl a lot in like fourth grade. It was probably around that time because I remember they were like big on MTV and shit.
Jackyl was great. They're like, Brian Johnson sang with them on one of their albums.
Did he?
Yeah, they were like a Southern rock AC/DC. Really, their sound, pretty much. But the thing, the bad thing is they just didn't have the staying power. They didn't have a lot to say or a party band. They're still around, but like the guys we're talking about, they don't have that kind of pull. I love them. I love what they did, but you wonder like how come bands aren't still going big. Like look, Metallica, man, they started small and they're major. Iron Maiden, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, they have their own jet.
Yeah.
They have their own airline.
Fucking Ed Force One, man. 666, you're clear for landing. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thunk it for sure.
So Jack was some good old boys. They were so cool. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
It's cool. But let's move on to. You said that was 92. I was like 10 in 93, and now we're going to move on to Ozfest 99, and that's when I actually ran into you.
That was wild because I had to get there at 6:30, and it was very hot that day, if you remember, right?
Yeah, it was July 5th, 1999.
Was that the date? Okay.
It was the day after 4th of July. This is in Chicago, but it's the World Theater.
Yeah.
I don't know the actual town, but it's the suburbs of Chicago, and it was one of those July days here that, like, not only was it hot, but the humidity was disgusting. And I remember I had a can of chewing tobacco because that was the cool thing to do.
Uh-huh.
When you were a teenager, like, put your dip in. And I had Copenhagen, which is like the hardest shit to dip too because it's so fine cut, you know?
Oh, man.
But I remember we were on that hill, for the main stage, and Copenhagen has that metal lid, or, with the top with the reflective.
Yeah.
And it was so hot. Someone's like, dude, you left your chewing tobacco there. I'm like, oh, yeah. And like I opened it, and it was just all water. Like it
melted it?
It like basically, like whatever the moisture is in the chewing
they have
tobacco.
moisture in there.
It was just all water for the most part. I'm like, oh, it's so hot. But I remember Davey, your nephew, was like, my Uncle Jay's working it. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's working it. And he's like, he's gonna try to get us underneath the pavilion. And we did end up sneaking in the pavilion. But what was your story? Like I remember we ran into each other, but I don't remember those details.
I was just thinking about that Copenhagen. The first time I tried to chew, I got so sick. I've never tried it again. I don't know how you guys can do that.
No, I don't do it anymore. I
Yeah.
was just trying to be cool when I was like 15 or 16.
I tried once.
Right.
I didn't look too cool throwing up over in the corner.
No.
Oh, but no, I got there at 6:30, and you know, it was hot as hell, man. And I don't know if you remember when Sabbath, they had the confetti that blew up and went everywhere. I had to carry those tanks, I remember, and that about killed me because they had to go from the back parking lot through the stage down and out to the middle, like where the guys mix and everything, you know. And so I'm moving shit, and then I moved Slipknot shit in and stuff, and then I had to hook Ozzy's hose up for his water.
Yeah, he was all into the water shit then. I remember they just throwing water on people, spraying water at people.
I can see him like, Sharon, I'm getting tired of throwing these buckets.
Right.
So he set up a pedal so it would shoot out in the crowd. You know?
Really?
Yeah. So he had that day he had these pedals. And when he stepped on them like a wah pedal, it would shoot water into the crowd.
So you were setting those up?
So
you set those
he
up
had
for
this
Ozzy?
big giant tank in the back, and we're filling it. And well, we're adding more water to it. And we're trying, and I'm okay, here I am, everybody. I'm in Chicago. It's probably, I don't know what, maybe 11 or 12 now. I've been working for 6 hours. I'm dying hot, and I'm hooking up a hose, and I hear, "Hey, Jay." And I look up, and it's Joe Riley. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Joe?" I go, "I'm trying to hook up Ozzy's hose. I mean, this is like, you know, out of for 30, 40,000 people.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
That, you know, I didn't even see my nephew. I saw you.
Right, you did see me. I remember. Yeah, you were sweating and you were moving.
Oh,
and
it
you
was
were
hot. Oh, man.
Dude, it was so hot that day.
Yeah, it was
And
terrible.
for everybody listening, here's like some of the bands. Like this was a huge. 99 was a good year, especially for like heavy metal. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to like those festivals with the bands being how they were. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it was a big scene.
Yeah.
And it was a great scene in the late 90s. So here were some of the bands. It was Slipknot's. I remember talking about magazines. I remember reading a hit parader. This is before the internet, and they had like a Slipknot picture. Like I didn't know much about them, but they're like, yeah, they'll be opening Ozfest. I'm like, they look cool. And I remember Slipknot was there, System of a Down, Fear Factory, Deftones, Slayer, the original lineup for Black Sabbath. Who else? Kitty, I think, was there.
Godsmack.
Static X, Godsmack,
Yep.
Primus. I mean, I could go on and on. It was like the coolest.
Oh my God, you're a bass player?
Yeah. Les Claypool's the man.
I carried in, me and this guy carried in this case, and it was like tall and skinny. You know, guitar cases are, you know, usually flat, you know. But, you know, even the flight cases, you know, they're like locked down, locked up. We carry in these things, and this thing, I'm like, what the hell's in this? It's not a Marshall cabinet. Everything's got cases. And it said Primus on it. We opened up the top and lifted it off, and there was 4 or 5 Les Claypool's basses standing up.
Cool.
And I'm going thump, 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 and I'm going, Les Claypool's bass. I'm going, how cool is this, man?
So cool.
I'm just thumping. I'm going, this is Les.
Because he always, Les Claypool, like, he always had cool custom looking.
Oh, dude, these are all
strings.
customed out, man. He had like 5, 6, 4, whatever strings. And I'm just going, Les, I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome.
And, you know, I was like going, man, I could take one of these things and take off.
You said Slipknot, like getting back, like Slipknot, that's right when they came out. I remember I was like the first one to have that CD, their first album, when I came back to Hobart.
Yeah.
And people were like, I showed it to everyone, but they opened up on the main stage, so they knew the right people, so to speak. But you said they were really cool. Right?
They were really cool because I was just starting into that. So I got, you know, stuck with the newest band, you know, the worst gigs, you know, worst jobs. And they were very cool. They had like a main roadie. All they had was their bus and like a trailer with their equipment in it. They didn't have, you know,
Iowa boys,
everything.
you know, they're from Iowa, man.
And they were just starting. And I hung with them because me and one other guy and their main guy hauled everything on. You know, that keg drum?
Yeah.
That thing about broke my back, man. That thing was heavy, man.
Did they have their masks on or no?
No, at the beginning they had the barcode thing. But they didn't have their masks on out back. In the back, they had, the way they had it set up, they had the stage. And then in the back, they took all their buses and the semis and they made a big square. And everybody had 4-wheelers and motorcycles, and that was like their playground.
Cool.
And but they were up close, and so before they went on, you know, they're like, man, you're cool. You're one of us, man, because, you know, we're just starting and you help move all our stuff. And so somebody was filming us. We're all arms on shoulder walking up, and I'm with them.
Oh, cool.
Somewhere there's a tape
Of you walking up there with them when they're going on stage.
And then after they got done, I picked up their set list that was on the floor, and they signed it and did all their characters
Oh, cool.
underneath it. And I screwed up because I didn't really think that they were going to hit as big as they did.
They're huge now.
They're monstrous. And then
Huge.
later on, when I met Tonni Iommi, I had him sign the back of that. And I ended up selling that Slipknot thing like 2-3 years later because I didn't think.
They're going to be anything.
Yeah, and I forgot about the Tonni Iommi signature.
On the other side? Oh, dude, buzzkill.
Not only that, the Slipknot signature right now is, you know, worth, you know.
And Paul Gray, their bass player, passed away, so rest in peace to Paul.
Yeah,
you know,
I
a few
heard
years
something
ago.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Slipknot's first 2 albums, their self-titled one, and then Iowa, I really loved. And then I kind of just got away from them. I mean, I'll go back and revisit because that first one it was huge at the time. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think I may have seen them one other time after that. I don't know. I've been to so many shows, but they made an impression.
Yeah.
That's cool that you got to see them. System of a Down was there too. You said they were kind of dicks, right?
Yeah, I was standing right behind the drummer, and they just had attitudes. You know, maybe they had a rough night.
Yeah, not saying anything bad about System, but some people are cool, some aren't.
Yeah, and considering that everybody else was like way cool, Sully from Godsmack, the singer, was helping us get Ozzy's siphon going. I'm looking, you know, we're on like trying to get his pedal for the water going. I look over and this guy's been helping. I go, you're Sully from Godsmack. What are you doing? He goes, I'm bored, man. I'm bored.
Yeah, Boston dude, ain't
Yeah, get the Boston accent. He goes, I'm just bored, man.
33rd.
He's got to get Ozzy's pedal going, man. I talked to him. I go, how'd you guys start from? You blew up in a year. And he goes, man, we rented we did a bar, and he goes, it got tore down, man. We tore it up. He goes, then we went to a nightclub and we had it ripped apart. Then it said, you know, the papers kept saying band keeps, you know, venues get destroyed, and they got noticed. Next thing you know,
That was their claim to fame because they kept destroying the same bar.
the fans and their music, they kept like destroying wherever they played.
That was a big album back then. I remember the bass line and the beat. Remember they had like the squeak, like the scream.
That
was
little
a cool song.
screamy noise, that little however he's doing that.
Yeah, but then they just went away, and I don't know. They were good.
And once again, like a Jackyl thing.
Yeah.
They had something to say for a small time, and they're gone.
That was it.
But I love what they did.
Yeah, it was cool. That was
man.
That was a cool record at the time. I know I talked about this on one of my other episodes. I think it was with my dad. So people listening, go back and check out the episode I did with my dad. It was ticket stub talk. So I had a pile of my old school ticket stubs, and he had his, and like we went back and forth. But the Deftones, I love the Deftones. They're one of my favorite bands, and this was the first time that I got to see them. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was like right when the sun was going down, and they were charging $5 for a bottle of water, and everybody had it because remember, like we were saying, it was like 100 degrees and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
Just a nasty, moist ass Chicago July day. It was just disgusting.
Yeah.
So everybody, you know, maybe, I mean, I couldn't drink then because I wasn't of age, but, you know, you mix a little bit of booze. And were they selling booze at that place then in 99?
You know, I was stuck in the back.
I don't remember.
So I don't even know, like, if they were selling it outside. I don't think they were.
I don't think they did back
I don't think
then.
they had a booze venue there. I think it was.
I don't remember.
Because, I mean, I know I was stuck in the back. I mean, when you're backstage, everybody thinks it's like, you know, a party. Or, I was working. I was busy. They had one lunchroom with air conditioning in it, and they had everything you could want in there, except for booze.
Right.
But I don't think the venue sold alcohol.
But you could tell everybody was just, they've had enough. It was a long, hot day, and then they're charging $5 for water. So when the Deftones came out, everybody just started throwing their water bottles.
Oh,
and I remember Davey and I, your nephew, I don't know if you helped us out with this or whatever, but we got underneath the, what is that, the canopy or the... What's the word?
Well, you weren't in the lawn.
We weren't in the lawn anymore. We got
pavilion.
The pavilion. Thank you. We were underneath the pavilion, but we couldn't really watch the Deftones because you had to watch the back of your head so you didn't get hit with like mud or a water bottle. It was just kind of out. It was just kind of intense, but you know, they really didn't impress me, but I still loved them and I wanted to give them a chance, and I did.
Yeah.
I saw them later and I love them. But another thing I think that was going against the Deftones that particular evening is they had to open. It was Deftones, Slayer, Black Sabbath, original lineup.
Come on.
you gotta play before Slayer, and you're waiting for all those Slayer fans. And I'll never forget this: when Slayer played, they had a human eyeball having surgery performed on it on the jumbo screen.
See,
and it was the loudest shit. So let me hear your Slayer story.
Well, that's all the stuff I missed because I was in the back. But if you remember right, all the bands just had banners behind them. And so the banners we just roll them down, and there's like a 30-foot stick that went through like a giant pole.
Okay.
All right. So, and that would hold the banner down. All right. Now, I actually plugged in Slayer's stage right.
They had a wall of marshals.
32.
That's how many marshals they had?
It was 12 by 3, 36.
Holy shit.
3 high, and they didn't have the heads on the top. All the heads were down
On
in
the
the
ground?
back, behind them.
Okay.
And it went to a master. And my buddy kept telling me, well, those are all fakes. I go, oh, no, I plugged them all in. They had this cable, which was really cool, is they had this one big long cable that went to length. So they were all wrapped in one, instead of have to like string every one. And then every one, it would just plug right into it. So you undid this long cable, and then the small cables went right into the plugins. And then it went to a bunch of heads in a rack. And I remember the one rack said Marshall 800, and there's like 4 of them. And that's when they kept coming backstage and click after every song and just turning it up. Pretty soon it got so loud.
It was so loud
that we had the guys on the walkie-talkie going, we need people to hold. The Slayer backdrop was actually blowing backwards. I swear to God, it was blowing like a sail on a damn sailboat. It was blowing backwards.
The night Slayer melted Chicago.
And this guy here, he goes, I ain't never seen this before. He's worked there forever. He goes, I never seen it like this. And I'm like, I got to excuse myself. I need to use the restroom. I want to go out front and hear this because I heard it in the back. Man, it was just, that was unbelievable. The power that them guys were putting out, man.
Loud, huh?
Oh, yeah, it was, you just, in the back, you're just feeling thump, thump, thump.
But when you snuck in front, I mean, what did it do to you?
Oh, it was just like, man, I'd rather be here than in the back.
Right.
And I was trying, that was my goal. I was trying to get all you guys backstage.
I remember that. We were like looking for you, like, I'm going to get you back there. But I mean, there were so many people, man.
At one point, I went up to the mic and I go, Dave Clark, where you at?
I remember you saying that.
And he goes, I was like 17 people like deep. He was like 17th row, basically.
Yeah, I was sitting with him.
Yeah, you guys were all together, and I couldn't see you.
Right.
I could. Man, I got a little dose of what those guys get to see.
That's cool.
And it's just to see you know, unless you pick one out,
right?
You know. And then I sat on the side of the stage. You remember seeing me? Cool, I had a towel on there. It was so damn hot, man.
Dude, that was such a hot day. But yeah, Slayer. I just remember him with the eyeball having a surgery, and then it was intense. And then it went into Black Sabbath. That was the original lineup. It was Geezer, Bill Ward, Tonni Iommi, and Ozzy. And then you got to meet Tonni Iommi. So let's hear a little bit about that.
The first one, though, the first guy I met was Bill Ward, and I actually called him Geezer. And Bill Ward's a big man, and he looked at me. He goes, Bill Ward, drummer. And I said, yes, sir. I go, you're one of my idols. I go, I'm Godsmacked here. I don't, you know, I messed up. And he started laughing, you know, and he signed my little pass. Cool. And then I remember who just got done playing, but it was hot. I had to go get some air conditioning in my truck.
Slayer.
It was either after Slayer or before Slayer.
Okay.
And but either way, I went out. There's like a rack of clothes and Tonni Iommi standing there in that square I was telling you about. And there's people zipping around on 4-wheelers and shit, having a ball. And he's standing there in his full gear, you know, like he basically wears a suit on stage all the crosses and shit, and I'm dying of sweating, man. You
Tony's in all black leather.
He's
not
in all
breaking
black.
a sweat.
He's not even beating a sweat drop. And so I told him a story about how I bought that album during the snowstorm, and we started talking about guitars. I go, "You like the light ones?" And I go, "I know, I know you like the SGs." Because I like light. And I said, "I like heavy." Boom. It was on, and we were talking, and I was asking him about his fingertips, and that came out later. He wouldn't tell me. He said childhood accident and stuff, and
Okay.
and it was just really comfortable, cool conversation.
He's a cool dude then.
Very cool, very
Awesome.
cool.
Did he sign your
He signed the back of that Slipknot
Did he?
thing that I.
Oh, that's right.
that
Yeah.
I
So
lost. Yeah, so I messed up on that. Yeah,
shit. He didn't sign your backstage pass?
there was no more room.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
there
still
was
have
just-
that?
Yeah, it's
Do
on
you?
my guitar case.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
Very cool. But yeah, Tonni Iommi, you got to meet him.
yeah.
That was an awesome Ozfest because I remember the big promotion was like it's Black Sabbath's last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not performing ever again.
Yep.
And I mean it's been 20 years, remember? And they just came out with that 13
Yeah, they
album
just-
like 2
They just did.
years
Yeah, they just
ago.
did 13 and the end.
Yeah.
The end tour.
That's supposed to be the end, but it was supposed to be the end in 99. But that was a special time for heavy metal. And then I went the following year, 2000, and I got to see my favorite guitarist as a kid, which was Dimebag Darrell
See,
from Pantera.
I totally missed out on that. I think he is another Rhodes Vaughn kind of guy. From everybody I've talked to that got to see Dime, they all say the same thing about like Rhodes and like Vaughn. He's in that category.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, I think I told you that on the phone. There wasn't like one moment that I remember like exactly picture for picture, but I remember he was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've just been to so many shows, but I'm happy, like, you know, for the small windows, like
Yeah.
we were talking about with like
Yeah.
Stevie Ray and Randy Rhoads for you. Like, I'm glad I was able to see.
Yeah. You got
know,
to see
I
another
got to see
master.
another master
Yeah.
before he got, you know, murdered by a piece of shit coward on
Yeah,
stage.
that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, that was
come on.
that's about as bad as it gets. But I was happy.
Basically, Dime is your era's Stevie or
Randy.
Randy. You
Well,
know?
he always-
and he upped it too, and he was all over other people's records and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Zach, you name it, they talk the same way about Dime as they do Randy.
Randy,
He was the man.
he was the man.
He was the next one in line, man.
He
He was the
was.
one doing it.
He was, and he loved Randy Rhoads. You know,
He loved
that
everybody.
was his idol, Randy and Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
speaks a lot for itself. But now I'm gonna move on to a little part that we call hate mail because we do get hate mail from people,
Yeah.
but I haven't gotten any lately. But I
Good,
do have some.
good.
I do have some love mail. So I got hit up by this person, and I do Deftones episodes where I like revisit the particular record and where I was and how it affected my life or changed my life.
Mhm.
So somebody reached out, and I know she's from California, and it was today, so that's why I'm putting it here. And she goes, "Okay, I love the Deftones episodes, and I love your podcast." And she goes, "I'm dying to hear White Pony Part 2 because we're gonna do another episode because we did one all about White Pony, and then reached out to people like, hey, if you want to be a part of Part 2 or if you have anything, you know, give us a call." Yada,
Okay, so
yada.
you do some live links and some
Yeah.
calls? Okay.
So she just hit me up. She's like, I can't wait for the White Pony Part 2. And she goes, do a Saturday Night Wrist episode. And that's like one of their albums that's a little bit darker that people either love or hate.
Uh-huh.
But I really liked it. So I like that suggestion, and we're going to go that direction.
Yeah.
And I got a hold of her today, and what we're probably going to do, you know, because anything could change, but do that Part 2 episode with her over the phone because she lives in LA. She's like a photographer in LA.
That'd be really cool.
Be really cool. So shout out to her.
Yeah.
I don't even know her name right now,
Okay.
but we're gonna link up. So we got some really cool love mail, and there's more. You know, a lot of props. A lot of people were reaching out. We did a end of the year shout out special with all of our different guests,
Uh-huh.
and Stretton like clipped it together. So people, if you missed that, go back. And I was getting a lot of people reaching out saying, "Hey, thanks again for having us. We love what's going on." So
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any hate mail because we do get hate mail.
Awesome.
So what we do is we read it, and sorry people, we don't have any hate mail this week, just nothing but love. So thanks to the listener, and everybody remember to subscribe to Musically Meditated Podcast. It's on YouTube. Share it with everybody you know. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere. You know, you want to get your podcast fixed. But Jay, thanks
Yeah.
for coming, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been awesome, and it's all about love, man. If you don't have anything good to say, don't bother sending it. Just shut off. Don't listen.
Yeah, don't listen.
It's all about love, man.
It's all about love.
It's all about love
and about music and sharing the stories. And I'm glad, we got you in here so you could share your stories too.
It's been an honor.
All right,
it's been an honor to have me, Joe.
All right, thanks, dude.
Thank you.
Handshake, yeah. Adios.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out. I'm musically meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated. That's right. I'm musically meditated.
Producer my ass over there.